quote Walt himself, "Frontierland is a tribute to the faith, courage and ingenuity of the pioneers who blazed the trails across America." But how well do you know this wild land? Find out today on Walt Disney World Adults Only. Welcome Your Highnesses, I'm Dan and you're watching Walt Disney World Adults Only. Today I'm going to be joined by Carol and we're going to be taking an in-depth look at Frontierland at Disney's Magic Kingdom, looking at the places to eat and drink, the attractions and also the shops there too. Yeehaw! Are you ready, Carol?
Hi Dan. Yeah, I'm really ready to dive into Frontierland. It's one of my favorite lands in Magic Kingdom. Frontierland
was one of the original 1971 opening day lands of Magic Kingdom. It is themed on the American Old West, cowboys, Native Americans, and the mysteries of the rivers of America. The theming here is intense, and Walt had a very clear vision for this land.
Here we experience the story of our country's past, the colorful drama of frontier America, in the days of the stagecoach and covered wagon, to the advent of the railroad and the romantic riverboat. Frontierland is a tribute to the faith, courage, and ingenuity of those pioneers who blazed their trail across America and helped develop America into what it is today.
Exactly, Carol. Well, when this land opened back in 1971, almost 50 years ago, there were only 3 attractions here. The Walt Disney Railway Station, Davy Crockett Explorer Canoes, and the Country Bear Jamboree. Tom Sawyer Island opened in 1973, and then Big Thunder Mountain Railroad premiered in 1980. And not much changed for a long time, until we got Splash Mountain in 1992. So, let's explore. Carol, do you want to start us off with Country Bear Jamboree, an attraction that's still there today?
Country Bear's Jamboree is one of those love or hate attractions. It's a classic. It's been around since the park opened in 1971 with some minor refurbishment in 2012 where they actually made the attraction a little shorter. They cut out a couple songs and a couple characters as well. It's located between Pecos Bill Cafe and the Frontier Trading Post, so it's pretty easy to find. The theater itself is reminiscent of old Western stages, heavy with the wood, and of course the classic red theater curtains. It's a 16-minute show with 18 animatronic animals that sing and dance to country songs. Now the animals on the wall, as they talk, you really can hear that clacking noise. It's an older animatronic, but they are adorable and cute, so I just love them despite the clacking noise. Love it or hate it, the attraction is a classic and it's air conditioned, so on those hot days, it might just be the perfect getaway. Now for me personally, I really enjoy it. My favorite characters are Teddy Bear, and she's the little bear in the fancy petticoat skirt who descends from the ceiling singing her song. And Liverlips McGrowell is the bear's version of Elvis. Who wouldn't love that? I do recommend this attraction if you have the time to fit it in, although I don't think we ever need an excuse to go back to Disney if we can. Is this the kind of attraction you enjoy, Dan?
It really isn't. This isn't my thing at all. I can't even remember the last time I saw this show, and I find those bears kind of creepy. Now one that I do like, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. This one is much more my sort of thing and appears in 4 different Disney parks around the world. It's a race through a haunted gold mine aboard a speeding train. It opened on the 23rd of September 1980 and remains a firm fan favourite. Now it isn't especially fast, in fact it only gets up to about 35 miles per hour, but it is a really fun thrill ride. And I especially like riding this one in the dark. You get a whole different experience altogether. The theming on this ride is so good, and even the queue is incredible. So much attention to detail, and I don't know a single person who doesn't like this ride. When Fast Pass is operating, this one is one of my top choices for a Fast Pass at Magic Kingdom. Unfortunately, the line can be very long. Are you a hold onto your hat kind of girl, Carol? I would guess you are.
Oh yeah, Dan. I'm a hands up in the air over my head as I go through that roller coaster, one of my favorites. It's not, however, my favorite attraction in Frontierland. That nod goes to Splash Mountain. Based on the 1946 film Song of the South, Splash Mountain had a soft opening in August of '92, but the grand opening was October 1992. It's pretty much stayed the same ride, except in 2011 safety bars were added. Splash Mountain, as the name implied, you're going to get wet. Disney is actually able to control the amount of spray you get. So in the colder seasons, it doesn't shut down. They just turn down how much wet you're going to get. Most people think that you get the big splash as your log hits the bottom of that big drop. And that's not really true. What happens as you hit the bottom and then curve to the right as you're rounding that corner and you take that big breath because, I didn't get wet, isn't that wonderful? The next log coming down the drop displaces water, and that's what splashes you. So don't relax too much when you're at the bottom of the drop. It is a 56-foot drop at about a 45-degree angle. What I love about this ride, it's so immersive, the ride continues. The log then continues to the grand finale where all the characters are singing and happy that Brer Rabbit got away, and that's where you hear the classic Zippity-Doo-Dah song. For those of you concerned about the drop, it looks worse from the sidewalk looking up than it is. In June of 2020, plans were made to re-theme Splash Mountain to Princess and the Frog due to concerns about racial bias. In actuality, plans had been developed even before that for the re-theming. It just got stepped up. I've never seen Princess and the Frog. I keep meaning to, I just don't get around to it. I do hope they keep the format though, where they give you that little pre-story, then the thrill, then the post-story or grand finale. I think that's one of the things that makes Splash Mountain special. Do you like Splash Mountain, Dan? And how do you feel about the re-theming?
Carol, I adore Splash Mountain. It's such a great ride, but on 2 out of 3 of my last trips it's been closed for refurbishment. So I've literally only got to ride it once in the past 5 years. And that is super disappointing. But I really love the length of this ride. You really feel like you've had a great experience, so much to do, see and be entertained by. And then the drops are just awesome. I'm not really a huge fan of getting wet though, and you can get really wet on this ride. With regards to the re-theming, of course I totally understand and appreciate why this must happen. And Princess and the Frog is such a great movie. As you know, I'm quite forward looking and I love new things, I love change. So I'm really excited to see what they do with this. Next we have the Walt Disney World Railroad. Walt was a huge railway enthusiast, and so this one is special. It was really special to Walt. Now I haven't been on this in about 20 years. I'm ashamed. It was closed on my last trip, but I would have made the effort to give it a go. Now this is a real steam train. Well, there are 4, and they take you on a 20-minute journey around the Magic Kingdom. There are stops at Main Street USA, Frontierland and Fantasyland too. These are authentic steam trains, built between 1916 and 1928. These are beautiful trains, and as a railway line controller myself, I can totally appreciate this attraction. The railroad remains closed for now, enabling the construction of Tron, but they will be back. When was the last time you rode the railroad, Carol?
Dan, I think the last time I rode the railroad was probably my trip in 2016. I used to love the railroad. It was a ride in itself. The steam engines are really fun. And at the end of the night, when you're just so tired and you're fighting those crowds to get back to the main gate, you could take the train from Fantasyland back to the Main Street station and really avoid a lot of that crowd. Now let's look at an unsung hero of Frontierland, Tom Sawyer's Island. Tom Sawyer's Island is at the edge of Frontierland, between Frontierland and Liberty Square. It opened in 1973, so a few years after the park opened. It's still open today. But a lot of people just sort of overlook it as a bunch of trees with some props. And it's much more than that. First of all, to get there, you have to take a little raft ride. So the raft takes you across the waterway to get to the island. The rafts also serve as emergency vehicles if they ever had to disembark passengers quickly from the Liberty Bell riverboat. Fort Langhorne, at the opposite end of the island, is a two-story stockade fort complete with air cannons and air rifles. There's even an escape tunnel, so that's fun to explore as well. There are caves and mines and secret tunnels all over the island. In some of the mines, you'll even find glowing crystals. There are two floating rope bridges, one made on top of barrels, so you have to have a little bit of coordination to get across that, but it's Disney, so it's perfectly safe. There's also the water wheel, where you can go inside and see the gears turning of the water wheel. Again, this is an attraction to experience when you've got a little extra time on your hands. It is a nice way to avoid the crowds. It's amazing how just that little trip on the raft to the island sort of transports you out of Magic Kingdom. Knowing you, Dan, you've never bothered with this attraction. Am I right?
You know me way too well. This is another Swiss family treehouse. And if you want to know my thoughts on the treehouse, please check out our video on Adventureland. I'll put a link to that video in the description below. There is so much to do at Magic Kingdom. This Tom Sawyer Island just feels like a waste of ride time. I guess one day I should really experience it though. And one other thing that I've never done is the Frontierland Shooting Arcade. For an additional fee, you can use a replica rifle to take your best shot at both moving and stationary targets. This is a hard pass for me, but I'm sure it will appeal to some people for sure. Does it appeal to you, Carol? Have you tried it? I bet you're a very good shot.
Honestly, Dan, I've walked by this 1,000 times and I never knew it was there. My aim is pretty bad on Buzz Lightyear, so I don't think I'd spend extra money to find out how bad my aim really is. For me, this is a no-go. One other thing people forget about Frontierland is that there are some characters here. They're not the character spots where you can meet and greet, but you'll see the country bears from time to time, especially on the balcony of the theater, outside waving to people. And then you might see Chip and Dale walking through as well. So there are a few characters that call Frontierland home. Anyways, that's all the attractions and characters you'll see here. Shall we talk about dining next, Dan?
Well, I can officially say that I've never dined in any of the Frontierland restaurants. I really am a dreadful Frontierland fan, aren't I? But I have been inside Pico Bill's Tall Tale Inn when one of my friends ate there. And this restaurant is really well themed, kind of like an old Western saloon. So cool. And the food looked pretty decent there as well. This is a quick service place, and I always describe it as the Magic Kingdom Mexican, although strictly speaking that isn't quite true. It does have some Tex-Mex options as well as some really great burgers and salads as well. Here you will find nachos, tacos and fajitas. Very reasonable pricing, and during normal times this place has the best condiment and salad bar ever. Leanne would love it here, Carol. They have mini churros with a chocolate dip. Have you dined here yourself?
I've just recently eaten at Pecos, Bill, for the first time. It's a lovely building, stucco, arched doorways. It just has an atmosphere that tells you it's going to be cool inside, which is wonderful on a hot day. I ordered the Southwest salad with pork carnitas. Quite generous serving. So it was definitely a good value. Seating in the restaurant is mostly round tables with padded stools. I didn't see any chairs. They also had a very large topping bar, if I'm using the correct vernacular, a fixins bar. And that fixins bar had a whole bunch of different toppings that you could add to your meal. Another option is the Diamond Horseshoe. That is a seasonal restaurant. I've never been there when it's been open, however. I did take a look at the menu, and there was, for lunch, quite a variety of sandwiches ranging from $18 to $22. There were also individual platters of various meats, again going from $18 to $22. For lunch, you can also get the saloon feast for $39 a person. At dinner, that's the only option, the saloon feast. Although I've never eaten here and I'm not a huge meat eater, there's enough here that I think I could find that I would give it a shot if it was open. Dan, what about the Golden Oak Outpost? Have you ever eaten there?
It is absolutely on my list. This is more of a walk-up window, but it's the place where you get the loaded waffle fries. They look so good, and there is always such a lovely smell coming from that window too. It is currently closed due to COVID, and it's hard to say what they might offer when they reopen. But typically it's either waffle fries or onion rings loaded with either cheddar and gravy, Tex-Mex with black bean and jalapenos, barbecue pulled pork and coleslaw, or a BLT with ranch dressing. So lots of cool options, and the portions are really hefty too. They ain't messing about. So this place is definitely on my list for sure. Lastly, Carol, Westward Ho.
Westward Ho is a small stack station across from Pecos Bill. It has corn dog nuggets, it has churros and pretzels, some beverages. Probably the most appealing to me would be the slushy lemonade, which I think would be nice and refreshing on a hot day at Disney. So Dan, I think we've covered everywhere to eat in Frontierland. Shall we go to the shops next?
Sure, I'll start with the Briar Patch. This is located next to Splash Mountain and is the store where you'll find all your merchandise for Splash Mountain and Big Thunder Mountain too. This is actually quite a cool shop. And whilst we're here, I'll also mention Splashdown photos too. This is where you get your photo souvenirs from Splash Mountain. And I actually remember my parents buying our photo all the way back in 1994. Carol, I'll let you cover Big Al's and Frontier Trading Post, and then I think we're done.
Big Al's is named after the Country Bears and is located near the Country Bears Jamboree Theater, and it's a small kiosk. They have coonskin caps and cowboy hats, some air rifles, as well as the traditional plush, sunglasses, umbrellas, things like that. Frontierland Trading Post is located past the Country Bears Jamboree as you're heading towards Liberty Square. It's your typical Disney souvenir shop. Each shop has something a little special in it, so you have to go in all of them. For this shop, we're going to find some Western wear and some Native American items. But their big claim to fame is it's a pin trading center. They have several walls dedicated to pins and collections of pins. Well, that brings us to the end of exploring Frontierland. It is such an immersive area, and there's an awful lot to see here. As you can tell, we both love it. What about you? Do you love it? Tell us in the comments below.
Thank you so much for your help today, Carol. I've really enjoyed the opportunity of working with you on this one. It's been so much fun. Next up in this series will be Liberty Square, so look out for that one in the future. And of course, click subscribe and the notification bell as well, so you know when our videos are released. For now, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please give us the thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'll be continuing this discussion about Frontierland in our adult-only Facebook group. Please join us there to get involved. I'll put a link in the description below.
And remember, never grow up.
And as Carol says, never grow up.